Oh, hello.
Oh, hello, menopause lady. Hi.
Oh,
Are you
hi.
excited to continue your talking about menopause? I know that you
Yes.
I've seen you everywhere
I know. I feel very,
exposed.
yeah, definitely. Billy too.
Poor Billy, poor hot Billy.
Or
She's married to Billy Crudup, who I have a very intense crush on. I've expressed such to him and Naomi together, and luckily he's very gracious at my advances, but also keeps his distance. First of all, on behalf of my sister, I want to say thank you for sending all of your products to my sister, Shoshana.
good.
She got all of your products. She fucking loves them.
I'm so
and
glad.
I love them too. And I have to say, so dare I say it, is this book. And this is perfect for our audience because we have so many women listening, and all of you women are going to get to experience the joy of menopause. And the great advantage and the bravery that Naomi is bringing to the subject matter by discussing it so openly and encouraging so many other women that are now discussing it so openly is that we don't have to go through this without having the information like women 50 years ago did. We don't have to go through all of this without talking about it like women 50 years ago did. And there are so many tools and there are so many brands, including Stripes, which is Naomi's brand, that has so many ways to help you deal with all of the experiences that you will go through during perimenopause. And you also mentioned, which is very funny because my sister Shoshana, who is a nurse, said on the podcast, she goes, menopause is just actually one day. It's a year from the day of your last period. Is that right? Is that what it is?
That's exactly right.
And I said to her, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. This was a couple of
right.
This is a couple of years ago. Right. And meanwhile, she's an RN, so clearly she knows way more than I do. But you also talk about that in the book, which I think a lot of people didn't know, right?
Yeah. And that also, it's basically a third of our lives that we will be in this menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause state, that, so not to say that the doom and gloom of your symptoms will last this, many decades, but you could still have some menopause related symptoms that, unless you're getting treatment, and that is obviously everyone's choice, whatever's safe for them. So it is something to prepare for, but not with fear. We don't have to, flail around trying to piece it all together by ourselves anymore because it's now broken open. We can talk to our friends. We can go to our doctors with the right questions and explore it with, feeling armed with this what's available now out there on the internet. I mean, there's that fantastic New York Times Susan Dominus article that was written a couple of years ago that really goes granular into how to approach treatment if you want to. It's a different time.
And one of the things that you talk about in your book that I think is so people don't really realize is that you can be going through perimenopause and also becoming a mother. Like motherhood can be in conjunction with perimenopause. So, which is something that happened to you.
Yes, the news came to me that I was close to menopause, quote unquote, at 36 when I was not getting pregnant. My doctor said, let's take some blood work. And I did. And then the results suggested that I was, I had a high FSH level, which is follicle stimulating hormone. And I kind of ran out of the office, not ran, but like walked out of the office in pieces, feeling terrified. Oh my God, 2 bits of bad news. My fertility was done possibly, and I was going to be going into menopause, which just felt like the end of everything. I called my mom right away and said, why didn't you tell me more? She had told me that she went into it at 45. But when I asked her why she didn't give me more detail, she said, well, these were the conversations I never had with you because my mother never had them with me. Like there was some code of silence that was just agreed upon. We suck it up, we suffer through, we soldier on. And yeah, that's just the way it goes. And just made no sense when we're half the population that is going to get there, God willing, that we live that long. And yeah, why should we suffer? Why should we have to deal with any kind of um, conversation that is taboo or stigmatized? It didn't make any sense, especially now that we're living longer. So we need to optimize our health. And if you don't get things under control, it can lead to other issues.
Yeah, there's a lot of like suffering, like the subject of women suffering and women being tough and having to deal. First of all, we're juggling more than most men are on a daily basis. We're able to multitask, we're able to do all of these things. But the idea of like female suffering is just, it's so crazy that people, I mean, there are certain people who think you have to suffer, that it is part of the journey, that it is part of the game. You have to suffer in order to get stronger. You have to suffer in order to, be the body weight you want to be. You have to suffer. It's like, that's all bullshit. You don't have to suffer. You have to work hard and be determined.
It's like it's part of our programming. I mean, and even going back to the first time we had our periods and there was pain and it was like, come on, everyone has period pains. Just suck it up. You're fine. And then you find out 10 years later, this young woman has got endometriosis and, has been complaining about it, but everyone around her has said, you can deal. So I think it's just part of our wiring that we think that we must just soldier through, and I don't think we need to do that. And I think as we get to this point in our life, as older women who have experienced a few things, we get to say, no, actually not. I'm not just gonna roll through this. I'd like some support. And I'd like to have some compassion and empathy from all those around me.
So what was the issue for you? Because coming up with this product line is incredible. It's incredibly helpful for so many women. What was the issue for you that made you develop your first product, and which one was the first one?
Okay, so I developed this company called Stripes Beauty because we've earned our stripes. I wanted this woman to feel seen, that it was not the end, that she should head into this time with support and agency, unapologetically so. And I really wanted to create a brand that recognized her symptoms, her age, exactly where she's at, and, not promise the world that you could look like a 25-year-old. Because frankly, when I was 25, I didn't like how I looked. I want to look my best in this moment right now. So,
and also, let me just interrupt you for 1 second. Sorry, Naomi, but I just want to say this also, that this is a part of your life. This isn't the end of your life. And there is more to be excited about after you're done with menopause, and quite possibly during the whole process of menopause, which I would argue is something that you can go through with the right help and the right support and the right products while enjoying the time that you're going. It's not like a funeral. You have a whole life ahead of you after.
It's a whole new chapter. Yes, some changes take place, and not just physically, emotionally, your household emptying out perhaps, or your ailing parents, job pressures, marriage issues, like there's so many things can happen at this exact time. And it's kind of a cruel trick that you do get, that zinger of the old menopause thing, but we can get through challenges again with support systems and good doctors, good community, all of it. But to go back to your question, Vajavana, if I may, is our best seller, and you've got it right there. It's one of the curvier bottles. I think that's the lube.
This is Glide. That's the play oil. Use that for
I wanted to create a product line that was from scalp to vag, because we need extra hydration at all of those points. And that's a deep hydration level for your skin, for your hair, for your body, and the vag.
And so you can put this anywhere, right? You can put it on your scalp or your vag.
Oh, no, wait, what are you? You've got
I'm doing
oh
the
my
power
God.
move.
No, that's just for the vag.
The power move.
Oh, the power move is just for the face.
Just face. You don't put the face
Just
on
face.
your vagina.
No,
Just want to
you
clarify
can put it
here.
on the face of your lover, and then maybe he can.
And then
go
he can put it
somewhere.
on your on the base of your vagina. This one is called rest
face to base.
face to base. This is called resting clean face. Very clever. I love that. Which is a nourishing and calming face wash. And then there is lube. And then what do you have for night sweats?
Oh, okay. So, well, there's different things you can do for night sweats. And if you are into supplements, we have something called Inside Edition. Is that what you have there?
I have Inside Edition. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
it right there. Oh yeah, this right here.
Yeah, that's going to help you with.
I've taken
with your
these.
night
I've
sweats.
taken these for my night sweats, and they work. I've taken
Oh,
these.
good.
Yes.
Good. I'm glad to hear. Yeah. People in perimenopause have really had a great time with those. That is a great way to start when you don't know what's going on. But certainly the sweaty nights is a big one, and something that I ticked on medical forms for years and years and years before I was told I was in menopause. Anyway, yeah, I have gone on HRT, which is working for me. It was a great conversation with my doctor. He went through my medical history. We talked about my symptoms. If I wasn't getting enough sleep, it was going to lead to other things, depression, anxiety, memory, brain fog, all those kind of issues. So based on my medical history, he felt it was safe for me.
And what kind of HRT are you on?
Estrogen and progesterone. So there are so many different delivery methods. I have pretty much tried them all. It's all trial and error, whatever works for you, different doses, different methods of delivery. I am currently on the gel, but before that I was on the patch. I kind of missed my patch. And before that I was on the pill. I don't know. I may have the chronology off here, but I've tried the pill, the spray, the ring that you insert inside. They're all great things. The pill is meant to be the least safe one because it goes through your liver and can cause blood clots.
Yeah, I'm on the patch. I just started the patch, and I take the progesterone when I go to bed at night. But it really has helped. I mean, the Inside Edition stripes really helped me with the night sweats. The progesterone and the estradiol, am I saying estradiol?
Yeah.
That's helping with the sleep.
Yeah,
because the sleep. Yeah. We've talked about this. When you drink and you can't. I mean, it's like you can't drink anymore because if you drink and go to bed.
Yeah, you need a few hours before you go to bed. The sugar is gonna spike in the night and wake you up, I think. But yeah, takes the joy out of.
It's day drinking from here on out, girls. Day drinking. You're not there yet, Catherine.
Not yet.
No. I'm cresting right now. I'm cresting in my perimenopause.
You're crowning into perimenopause.
Yes.
When you talk about hormone replacement therapy or like bioidentical hormones, like that's a buzzword I've heard a lot. Is there a difference between those? Are those like two terms for the same thing?
Basically, yes.
Okay.
As I understand it, it's a marketing term. They're basically the same thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know why I said again. Sure. It was like I was in the last meeting. Sorry.
She's still not a doctor.
That's what happens when you're on the treadmill of doing book promotions.
You have to keep repeating to people, I'm not a doctor. Yeah. I'm not a doctor.
Yes. I have not even played one. So
But you do have a story in the book about someone who like kind of went with some info from the internet and then used some hormones and used way too much of them and then found out she was using maybe way too much of the testosterone.
Yes, she had a terrible experience and she didn't get enough instruction from her doctor or at the pharmacy and she Googled it and she looked up, I think, the dosage of what what men were doing. And she blew through this testosterone at a rate that was just not safe.
Yeah.
And as a result, started losing her mind and almost her marriage because she started making stuff up and it was a big problem. So yeah, you do really need to be on top of this and be the CEO of your body and your whole menopausal journey, because we're just watching doctors get educated in real time about this. No one, with the conversation not being open, nobody was saying, I've got a problem. So the research wasn't there. So it's just on the, on the precipice of change in the last 5 years. It's only going to get better. And I think your generation or the next generation is going to be much better set up for success.
Yeah, thankfully. Yeah. I mean, we could at least do them that favor after what we did to the climate.
That's true.
What are some other things, knowing that you're not a doctor, Naomi, what are some other things that progesterone and estrogen provide you with?
I find progesterone it helps me sleep. I find it takes away anxiety. And it's, I've found that has been a game changer in my sleeping. And it's, I know that some people might even take a higher dosage than I do. I've heard that, and I'm definitely curious about that at some point for myself, but it's definitely helped me with sleep and anxiety.
Yeah, I'm curious as to like when you were starting this kind of, research for yourself and then started to become more outspoken about it. Like, when did you decide you were going to write this book? With this book, you have to get, if you're a woman, you have to read this. You have to understand what your body's going through so that you can get ahead of it. Like, arm yourself with information. Information is so powerful with everything. Yeah. Like, and it's just so easy to pick up this knowledge, and then have, once you have a base of knowledge about something, to be able to talk to other people about it is just so advantageous. But when did you think, because it is not a sexy topic, it's not hot, you're not talking about youthfulness, which is, what everyone wants to be talking about. So how did you feel about taking this on? I know Billy wasn't so excited about you talking about this publicly, but when did you decide to take this on and become kind of an ambassador for such an unsexy subject?
Okay, so after my second child, I was able to get pregnant naturally, mercifully. And after my second child, I went into hardcore symptoms. And in my early 40s, I was trying, the internet was barely active. I was trying to piecemeal information together. I was like, there should be a guidebook, a manual of how to navigate this time that is not telling me it's the end. It should be sexy and funny and informative and warm and cozy. Where is that book? I had a book to support me through my fertility it was like my private little Bible in a way that I would read. And it was called Inconceivable. It was a fantastic book written by Julia Indachova. And it was my everything that gave me hope. And I wanted the same kind of book for this topic, and it just wasn't there. And I remember talking to a friend of mine, and she was like, you should write that. And I was like, oh, come on, I'm an actor. I'm not a writer. And there's no way I'm going to say that out loud in my industry. God, talk about, career suicide. And so I just left it. But that idea came to me first. Then I came to Stripes Beauty. That idea came about, I guess, 10 years later. And I guess being 50, where I'm suddenly the average age, quote unquote, of menopause, which is 51. And so, I just thought, okay, maybe I can just actually own this now. Maybe it's just too exhausting to keep carrying this secret. Maybe I'm going to do it. And I created, I went and cold pitched the idea to a company that partnered with me right away. And then, I just got more and more into it. And yes, even talking about the vaginal offerings, I was like, I'm not going to speak about that though. I'm just going to talk about what a woman needs, which is hydration from scalp to vag. But, you can't do this in half measures. You have to just be all in. And the chances are what's happening to me are going to be happening to several other women out there too. So it got to the point where I just got more and more comfy with being more personal and exposing my secrets in service of, in the hope that I would heal or soothe other women. And, it just felt ridiculous that women could come together and talk about every awkward moment in their life, whether it was their first kiss, their first period, their first, pregnancy, or, all those things. We came together and we would talk and compare notes. But then suddenly there was this silence, like we're supposed to just manage this on our own. So that's when I just went, screw it, I'm going to write the book. And I want it to be informative. I want it to be like a cozy chat with my girlfriend on the couch. I want it to be hilarious and fun. Other women's stories, knowledge, information, all peppered through it. And hopeful. And it's not the end. That was the point.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back with Naomi Watts. Back with Naomi Watts, author of Dare I Say It, and Stripes, the company that offers all sorts of relief to people who are experiencing menopause, going through menopause, which, as we've learned, can be a long period of time. So you want to get your products. I personally like the Inside Edition, which helps with night sweats, because I too am going through.
And it keeps you regular as well.
Keeps you regular. Oh, I was like, regular? What kind of regular? There's so many kinds of regular.
I know, not regular periods. No, regular pooping.
I was like, period. I was like, I already got an ablation to block that out. But, good. Keeping you regular is always a bonus. Wait, one question before we begin with callers. One question, Naomi. Since you were experiencing menopause when you were going through your fertility and then you had your children, and then the symptoms became even more exacerbated, did you confuse that at all with postpartum, or did those two, was it postpartum too?
Well, it could have been, yes, for sure. But I was pretty keyed into the menopause thing by this point, because at 36, I'd had that message given to me. And then I understood that my night sweats were, in fact, menopause symptoms, that my irregular periods, thinning out and everything was also a symptom. I didn't join the dots until then. In fact, those medical history forms that you fill out, I'd written night sweats on them for years and years and years, and everyone just chalked it up to, oh, it's a allergy, or, oh, maybe it's, that extra glass of wine, or they just didn't ever say this could be menopause or perimenopause. In fact, that word was not a word I was familiar with until the last 5 years, which is a much nicer word, much gentler. So yeah, I was pretty understanding of the symptoms by the time my second baby came.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Cool.
There was still more that I came to discover later, which was itchy skin. That also led me to creating Stripes. I was working on a TV show and I had, long days under hot lights with makeup, and I would come home and after having taken my makeup off and just be ripping the dry skin off my face. It was just angry and itchy, and I didn't understand what was happening. I'd go to the dermatologist. I'd get a little, cortisone cream, which would work for a few days, and then the same thing would happen, flare up. And I was just running in circles. Again, no one connected the dots. And then I figured out later that indeed, as we lose estrogen, everything thins and dries out, and you become irritated much easier with things like, retinols, or, things that I'd been using in my skincare regime, which was working perfectly for a number of years, now was not going to not only not work, but it was going to aggravate me. So I had to really change out all of my skincare, and that's when I created the brand, because I wanted to have something that was ultra hydrating and good for sensitive skin.
Well, that's interesting that you say retinols, because those are specifically marketed to aging skin, quote unquote, or fine lines and wrinkles and that sort of thing. So it's right at the same time that you're having this thinning.
Yeah. Well, there's retinoids. We have retinoids in our evening wear, which I've got to get into your hands, Chelsea. And because I see you don't have it there. And yes, so that's a gentler form
Okay, great.
that will help with fine lines.
Wonderful. Were we ready for some advice questions?
Are they menopause advice questions? They
sure
better
are.
be. Okay, yes. We have to curtail everything to our special guest.
Yes. Well, obviously, like blanket statement, as Naomi mentioned, there are so many different variables for everyone. So talk to your doctor. But this is just some advice from our perspective. So our first caller, Brad, do we have Kelsey?
Well, that's what we'll name the episode. We are not doctors. I
for
have to
Chelsea sometimes.
Naomi, you'd be surprised how many times I have to say I'm not a doctor also.
Really?
Yes,
Right.
you'd
Yeah,
be very
because people
surprised.
are calling in for your advice. I know.
Yeah, but and then I dole out unsolicited medical advice as well.
Exactly.
Pretty typically.
Our first question comes from Kelsey. She says, "Dear Chelsea, I am 36 years old and stopped taking my birth control 2 years ago. I had taken oral birth control since I was 18 and would skip my placebo/cycle every 2 months and maybe have a period every 3 months. Since stopping, I've had night sweats, dry skin, acne, rotator cuff pain without injury, and Jesus Christ, the low energy is killing me. My question is, if I'm in perimenopause, what kind of supplements and skincare should I use? I tried a number of lotions and washes, and nothing seems to help my dry skin. Note, I have not been officially diagnosed with perimenopause. I'd like to be tested, but I work in the medical field, CMA, and I feel like getting tested or asking for help is pointless because there isn't much treatment from the MD perspective. With so much love, Kelsey."
Wow.
Hi, Kelsey.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Or even in your scrubs.
Hi, this is our special guest, Naomi Watts, who just wrote a book called Dare I Say It, which is all about menopause. So you're in good hands today.
Awesome. Thank
So
you.
you're 36, right? Is that what you said? 36?
Yeah, I just turned 36.
That's how old Naomi was.
Mhm.
Exactly my age. Yeah, when I started having the symptoms. Well, actually, I'd had night sweats for a number of years, and I had migraines and irregular periods. I did have blood work done, and you're right. There's no one exact defining test, except for if you've had a full year without a menstruation.
Mhm.
But I think there are lots of other indicators like
But there's
night
there's
sweats.
also a urine test that you can do that Dr.
Oh.
Nigma told me about called the Dutch test. Naomi, do you know about that one?
I don't. I heard that Clear Blue is doing one now as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that.
There's something called the Dutch test, and it requires you to you pee on this little stick 3 or 4 times from in a 12-hour period, and that they say is a better indicator than blood work will indicate when you come back. Yeah, so you might want to look into that too.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So the rotator cuff thing. I had a frozen shoulder. Many of my friends have had that, and that can be very painful, particularly when you're sleeping. But you're in the medical field. I would say, can you talk to your colleagues? Can you get some? I mean, this is the thing: is that so many doctors were not even trained in this area specifically. Gynecologists.
Yeah.
I've done panels and symposiums and with a great number of fancy doctors, and they talk about their 1 hour of specific lecture centering around menopause. It's mind-boggling considering half the population will go through it. So I would just try and piecemeal together all of your symptoms and go to your doctor and ask them what they think is best based on your medical history.
And also frozen shoulder for that specifically. I've had a lot of conversations around this recently because I had shoulder issues and I thought maybe that was what I have, but I had an infection in my shoulder, so it wasn't. Given to me by a doctor who shall remain nameless for now until I decided to blow his gasket. But frozen shoulder, I've had a lot of conversations about that, and you want to treat that like you would treat a shoulder in physical therapy. You really want to keep mobilizing it. You really want to keep moving that and just kind of doing daily exercises to increase mobility, because the less you use it, the worse you're going to be.
Yeah,
so that's
motion is lotion. It needs So basically we have estrogen receptors all over our bodies, and that's what happens there. It just kind of locks up. And Chelsea's right. You was doing a lot of PT, and I did suffer through it for a good year. Eventually, I did something that I didn't want to do, but I ended up having to do it because the pain was too excruciating. I ended up having a cortisone shot. And I just giving it some relief was really helpful. And then I did hardcore PT, grabbing a towel or a band and going up above your head and down and forward. That was really good. And, like car wash kind of round and round, those kind of things to just increase mobility.
And did that cortisone shot that helped, right? That gave you some relief?
Really, really helped. And it has not come back since. And I'm knocking on wood, but that has been a game changer for me.
Yeah, that's good to know. I ended up getting cortisone shots too, because
Oh, you did? Oh,
yeah,
right.
I did physical therapy for a long time, and even my physical therapist doctor was like, I don't know really what else to do for you. But I didn't think about doing PT after that, because now that it doesn't hurt so much, I might be able to
Yeah, and that's also the thing. When it doesn't hurt is the most important time to keep it up. You know what I mean? To keep just that mobility going, because like that, I don't know. I've talked to so many PTs about frozen shoulder because it's my obsession since reading Naomi's book. I read Naomi's book and just had every symptom that she described. I'm like, and then I came back and I was like having night flashes, and I told my sister, I'm like, I'm having night flashes, and I had tried this other over the counter stuff before, Naomi, you sent me this, and I was like, and they worked for my night sweats. And my sister's like, you're so impressionable. She's like, you read a book about menopause, then you decide you have menopause, and then you cure it in one day with this over-the-counter drug.
You are on it.
I know, I'm on it. But so the frozen shoulder thing is like, you really want to stay on that, because it's when you ignore it or when you're in so much pain that you lose your mobility that you kind of can get stuck. So you want to stay on that too. And inquire about that Dutch test.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I haven't heard that, because, you have like hormone level checks, but if they're not off, then it's kind of like, well, I don't have any
the thing is
proof
the hormone checks can change
treatment.
every single day. Yeah, that's why they don't find them completely reliable, because
And a Dutch test, I think that was for my naturopath. So if you look that up online, I'm sure you can order one, because, it's like your blood levels, they don't show, like you could be on your period and get them, or you could be 2 weeks into your cycle, which are going to have completely different results. So I think that's why they're not accurate. And we live in LA, so we have doctors that are just willing to dole out anything at any moment for anything, So it's like, you don't really know what's working sometimes, because I know for me, I'm just taking so many different things, whether it's peptides or anti-aging stuff. It's like, I'm not sure what's working. I just know something is.
Yeah, that's all.
Now, for someone like Kelsey, who, maybe you're not getting the help that you need from your current doctor, your current OBGYN, what are the sort of things that she should be looking for in a specialist?
Okay, so I think at a minimum, if the doctor is not willing to give you a full spectrum of what's available, if that conversation is not, if he or she's blocking that conversation, then that's not the right doctor. I think you have to go in with your list of symptoms, your list of questions, your medical history and your families. And if they're just flat out gatekeeping, then it might not be the right provider. And it's a bummer to have to change, because I know that takes work, but you can go on the Menopause Society and look for a doctor that's suitable in your area. And also there was a great article in the New York Times by Susan Dominus two or 3 years ago called "Women Have Been Misled." And that is, she goes really deep into the whole experience of treatment and how we've been, misled, because there was a study that went wrong and the media got ahead of the study, and basically everyone feared hormones from that day forward. Now, of course, they're not going to be everyone's choice, nor are they safe for everyone, but they should not be ruled out if you are in need of symptom relief, and you think it's safe for you. So you do have to trust your doctor. You do have to make sure they're hearing you.
Yeah, that's good. And we do have a naturopath in town. I was actually thinking about.
Yeah, I think naturopaths have a better vibe on menopause than medical doctors. You know what I mean? Sometimes. I mean, not overall speaking, but like until we have menopause specialists, like naturopaths seem to have some better kind of elixirs.
There are some specialists. It's like HerMD, Alloy, MIDI Health, Evernow. These are all available. They're not. That's telehealth places. So, you can, I think we're up to navigating it. It's a bummer that we have to do a lot of it on our own. But I think, like I said, the change is only just started, and it'll be better for the next generation. But there's still a lot of work we have to do in order to get the right support and treatment that we need.
Yeah, I totally agree, because I feel like all my symptoms are like, oh, well, try this or that. And I'm like, but when you add them all up, like I'm having a good amount of these specific kinds.
And it's also, you have to understand, like, you have to trust yourself and understand that you know how your body feels, and if it feels off or if it feels regulated.
Yes.
And like when we talk to other people, sometimes that there's like this placebo effect of like, oh, well, they said it's not this. It's like, you have to know your body. You're in the medical industry. Be like, sit with yourself and actually feel what you're feeling. And you'll know, okay, this doesn't feel right. I do want to do something about this, regardless of what other people's opinions are.
Have you considered HRT, or have you mentioned it with your doctor? I know you said you were on birth control.
I haven't talked about any hormone replacement yet. I was actually even recently kind of thinking about going back on birth control, but I don't really want to do that.
Right. Well, I mean, I know what you're saying, Chelsea, that naturopaths, there are lots of things available, and you get, it feels like you're getting a lot of focus, but I personally go for the FDA approved way because it just feels certain, and things have been tested, and but again, it's got to be your choice. It's your body, and obviously what's safe for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Kelsey. Will you report back in a few months and let us know if there's any change?
Yes, that sounds good. I will.
All right.
Yes, report back and let us know if you get pregnant. We're interested.
No, not whatsoever. Yeah.
Okay, have a good day.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey.
I mean, just the irony of this woman working in a hospital, calling into a podcast, asking us about menopause is just like,
she's like, can't
you're
get
in
help
a
from her
fucking
MD.
hospital.
Yeah.
You can't even get a straight answer.
Yeah. And I wonder if she does see a naturopath, if they might suggest an MD that they, have worked with or that sort of thing too. So, yeah. Well, our next caller is Karen, and a little bit of a to fill Naomi in. A little while back, we had someone call in that was so annoyed that their friend kept sniffing constantly. Do you remember this? Like they were sniffing, and they're like, "How do I tell my friend to stop sniffing? I've tried. It's upsetting. It's a whole thing."
Is this are we gonna find out this is a symptom of menopause?
Well, we'll see.
Because I just edited I just edited my stand-up special, and I was sniffing throughout the whole thing. Oh, no. And I was like, why am I sniffling this whole time?
Chelsea, you have it too.
I look like a cokehead. And then and my manager goes, can you lift out the sniffling? And I was like, I just gave them that note too. I'm like, I don't know. I must have had a cold. And I'm like, do I do that all the time without knowing?
Gosh. Well, Karen says, Dear Chelsea, of all the things I've wanted to write in and ask about, my 48-year-old perimenopause symptoms, etc., here I am responding to a recent pod episode about a friend's annoying sniffing. It's me, not literally, and I'm not snorting any drugs. I don't have seasonal allergies. I have inner ear congestion, and the sniffing helps clear my ears. I've caught myself doing it, and I annoy myself. I've even seen myself in videos doing it. I can't imagine what people think. I've seen at least 2 doctors and they couldn't help. No amount of decongestants work. I feel like I'm underwater. I feel for these two friends, the sniffer and the sniffy, which got me thinking. I have a host of seemingly random symptoms. In addition to the sniffing, I'm exhausted, I have headaches, and I constantly feel like my head is in a fishbowl. My periods have changed, and I'm back on birth control to help with the heavy flow. I find myself wondering if it's something serious, but could it just be menopause? XO, Karen.
I don't know. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Welcome to Dear Chelsea. This is Naomi Watts, our special guest today.
Thank you so
How
much
are
for
you,
having
Karen?
me. I'm doing my best.
Oh, good. Yeah, it sounds like you're going through it. Yeah, I mean, look, as far as I've been told, I knew that fertility changes after 35, but what I didn't know is that you can experience perimenopause symptoms right from then onwards. And certainly in my case, that's what was going on. So it sounds like with the exhaustion levels and the heavy periods. I mean, was that regular, the heavy periods, or is it just suddenly or in the last?
It was new and it was so uncomfortable. I didn't want to leave my house, and I went to my doctor to make sure everything was okay. And then I ended up going back on birth control pill, and it helped, but there's so much stigma around the birth control pill.
And why is that? Why is there so much stigma around birth control, Naomi? Do you know that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there shouldn't be. Let's put it that way.
Does it leave you hanging when you get off of? I never was on birth control long term, so I'm asking because I don't know. Like, is it just such an adjustment when you get off of it? Is that the downside of it?
I was on the birth control for, gosh, maybe, and of course, when I wasn't getting pregnant, I thought, oh, is it because I was on it for too long? But no, I don't think it was related at all. It's probably a big adjustment. How long did you say that you haven't been on it for?
Well, I was on it for probably 15 years. And I got pregnant like 2 months after I stopped with my first daughter when I wanted to start a family. And then I went back on it. And when I wanted to have, when I had my second daughter, the same thing, I was able to get pregnant right away. And then after her, I was like, oh, maybe I should, do I have to give my body a break from it? Or, so I was off it for 5 years until just like 14 months ago when I went in. I was like, this is, miserable. I was getting like really bad headaches. And when I was young, I was like the only one of my friends that like took it. I'm very type A. So I was so good at taking it, and it made my period like 3 days, very light.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of friends that said, be careful, that's not good for you. But here I am on it, and it's helping me. But there was something in the back of my head, like, am I hurting myself? Like, it's
no.
hard.
Look, I think HRT is, as I understand it, lower levels of estrogen. So if you want to if you ask your doctor if it's safe for you, that would be maybe better for you. I mean, people stay on HRT till the very, very end. I know people that are in their 70s still taking it. So, the old messaging about, oh, you're only supposed to be on it for a certain amount of time, the lower dose, the least amount of time, that's old. That's old education right there. So I think you should maybe investigate, if you want to get your regular periods under control, you should investigate that. I sound like I'm pushing HRT on everyone.
No, but I
it's
think
an
that's,
option.
No, I don't think so. I think that is exactly what you're dealing with right now. It sounds like you're going through early
like
perimenopause.
It's just really helped me. And it's very confusing because this study that went wrong put the fear of God in not only women who were taking it, they literally flushed their hormones down the toilet, but doctors started doing the same thing. And that was it. They just stopped the research.
But you're talking about the article that came out that's saying it caused cancer,
yes,
right?
Yes,
right.
exactly. That it was leading to breast cancer. When this was in 2002, and this is like more than 20 years ago now, and we're still dealing with the fear of what happened there. I would say look at the Menopause Society. That is a great website. It leads you to doctors, all kinds of education, and get your symptoms under control. And the sniffing thing, tell me more about this.
I had a doctor look, he's like, oh yeah, it looks like you got some fluid in your inner ear, take some decongestants, which I love taking. Honestly, I understand why they make them in meth, but, or use them in meth, but sometimes they wouldn't work. And so like, I do this kind of like big sniff because it clears my ears. So I was taking a video of like bees in my garden, and I was watching the video back, and I could hear myself, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's terrible. And then I hear the episode, and I'm like, oh, I wish Chelsey could tell me, like, knock that off. But it's really, if I don't do it, then the congestion kind of builds, and then I'm like leaning my head over, and people are like, what are you doing? And I just kind of wonder if it's just also my ears would they ring sometimes, and then they started.
Well, tinnitus is definitely a symptom, and I've definitely been there with, sticking my finger so far down my ear that I look like
because I started itching, and I'm like, I'm literally turning into a bitch.
Yes.
I feel like you need to go to a hormone doctor. I think you should go get some testing done, not just blood work, like to ask for the urine test, ask to just test all your levels at the right time of the month, like track when you're going to be in mid-cycle or whenever the most optimal time for hormone testing is.
48 is around the exact age for all of those symptoms to be taking place. And it's the not knowing what's going on with your body, the feeling of like, wait, this didn't used to work like this. That kind of period, the transitional period from perimenopause through to that menopause day, which is 1 year after you've had your last menstrual cycle, that is a confusing time. So I would definitely try to get in front of your doctor, a doctor that you trust.
Yeah, I need to
and you have to advocate for yourself in these situations.
Yes.
Like you have to be a little bit more pushy and a little bit more, bold than you might feel comfortable with. But no one's going to advocate for yourself better than you are. So like you want answers, especially with your nose and your pressure and your ear situation. Like you need to go to an ENT and go, what is this and what can I do about it? There's got to be some solution out there that could at least abate the symptoms to a degree, so you're not feeling pressure in your ear, whether those are eardrops or whatever. Like there are answers out there, but you kind of sometimes, especially with this, as Naomi has demonstrated, you really have to push and be pushy to get answers. Women's health is not a priority for anyone in the history of the world. So we have to make it a priority, and you have to go in there and ask for answers and demand to get them. And if you don't get them from a certain doctor, then you have to change doctors. And that can be an exhaustive process, but it's going to be worth it in the end for you.
Yes, exactly what she said.
Yeah, I agree.
And then in the meantime, we're going to rename Naomi's book to I Am Not a Doctor. Okay, do you feel better equipped? You just needed a little bit motivational push right here, I think.
Yeah.
Always.
Go be a squeaky wheel, Karen.
Yeah. Well, my name's Karen. It's so
I know.
Live up to your potential.
Don't worry. That's the name. That's my alias. I have to travel with an alias, like when I'm in hotels and stuff. I don't have to. I choose to. But Karen is my alias, and everyone thinks that's the funniest thing, that my name is Karen. I'm like, yep, she's sitting right here. So we're sisters.
Hilarious.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
Bye. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, we just have a couple more minutes, so we'll take a quick break and come back to wrap up. Maybe with a shorty.
Okay, we'll take a break and we'll be right back to wrap up with Naomi. We're back with Naomi Watts, who's written this new book called Dare I Say It, which every woman should read, and most men should read too, quite frankly, so you can understand what women are going through, since you guys don't really have to go through fucking anything except getting us pregnant. And there's a quote there's even a blurb for me on the back. I hear a man laughing in the background. Ha 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 ha. He goes, ha 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 ha. to show us what you go through. Prove to us what you're dealing with. I was always like, oh, what's something embarrassing that a man has to deal with? Like periods, we can't control when we get them. We could be on a plane, bleed out through clothing. I've told the story of meeting my sister on safari after she was on a plane and like bled for 17 hours.
No.
And luckily she had those zip safari pants that I had sent her as a joke that she had zipped off and then taken them and wrapped them around her waist. And I was like, God, what is comparable to like the woman's humiliation of getting our periods in school and in public places?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, boners, like those are embarrassing. But a boner, it's like,
you can hide it.
First, yeah, you can. I mean, unless it's a really big one. But I mean, that's embarrassing for your boner to get hard all of a sudden, because then everyone knows exactly what you're thinking, you know? But also, it's just like, that also could be argued. You know what I mean? There's no evidence.
Yeah.
With a period, there's evidence. With a boner, there's no evidence. Like you think you see something and someone can kind of push it away. But yeah, I can't think of anything that men go through that is comparable to all of the levels of pain, childbirth, child rearing, all of it. And then a menopause on top of it. Yeah. It's the exclamation point.
So we have to educate them. We have to bring them into the conversation and say, this is what's going on. And I find that most times, if they're included into the conversation, they don't have to like imagine what's going on. If nothing's a mystery, then they will want to help. They will want to be empathetic. They just need greater understanding. And sadly, that's our job to make them understand. But, you know, again, this is the changes are happening in real time. Then I'm certain that this is not going to be the case for the next generation. Everything will be more normalized and humanized, and it'll be, you know, something that everyone knows how to talk to. You know, we can talk to our children and say, Mommy's having a bad day. I didn't mean to snap, you know, and this is why. You know, I'm having hormonal shifts. Just like when a teenager slams the door in your face, we know what that's about and we empathize. Right. So we've got to bring everyone into the conversation. We have to tell our bosses at work, if, you know, you're suddenly in a boardroom meeting and, you know, you're doing a PowerPoint with 10 men and you have a memory blip and you forget something that kind of suddenly unravels the whole meeting. That can happen. I've heard countless stories of women, you know, which can lead to greater anxiety and retreating, and, you know, nobody understands what's going on until you tell them. And so if we bring them in and say, hey, this is what's happening, I'm going to need a few hours, or I'm going to need a day, you know, they can adjust and figure out how to behave, hopefully.
I love that.
I want to say, Naomi, I'm really proud and impressed by you for bringing this subject to the fore in the way that you have. And I really want to say, like, especially in our industry, because I have so many friends that have gone through menopause before me, who were very loath to even admit that was an issue, who were very secretive about it. Like, I really feel like this is the dawn of a new era, and you are someone who can really be credited with bringing that conversation forward. So thank you for doing that for women, and for doing that for people within this industry, to make people more comfortable with the idea of talking about it and not being so ashamed at getting older. Like, it doesn't have to be a dirty word. It doesn't have to be a dirty thing. And I think by welcoming men into these conversations as well, it's just another opportunity to get more educated for all of us.
Exactly. Yeah, it had to happen. And I'm glad to be a part of it, along with a lot of other people. It's all things coming from every angle. All the doctors now who genuinely want to care for people, who are coming together and making sure the conversation is not only open, but the treatment is available. And, you know, we need to optimize our health, because if you don't get your health under control at this point in time, it can lead to other issues later. We're living longer, so we need to stay strong. And that means, you know, protecting our bones and things. I've seen you do it, Chelsea. You're lifting weights, right? That's what you do. And that's protecting your bone health. And, you know, there's so many We don't want to be fragile.
No, I know. That's exactly right. We don't want to be fragile. We don't want to be feeble. We want to be strong enough to take care of ourselves.
Right to the end. Yeah.
So thank you, Naomi. Congratulations on your book. And her product line is called Stripes for anybody. And you go to, what is it?
Stripesbeauty.com.
Stripesbeauty.com. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Naomi. Have a wonderful, beautiful day.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks.
Great
Take
to
care.
see you.
Travels.
See you soon.